Sally sells seashells down by the seashore.
Is that what she does?
Man. That nursery rhyme is actually based on a woman who famously collected a bunch of fossils and seashells and basically helped to prove evolution. And some of her examples are just up the street at the Wagner Free Institute. And everyone thought she was crazy.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm gonna go see if my sandwich is ready. I'll be right back.
Don't. Okay.
Baba Booey, Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. Welcome to Millennium Bug, a new podcast about movies from the year 2000.
Yes, all of them. Every single movie.
I'm your handsome host, Tyler.
And I'm your cute host, Nick.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
That'll work.
So, this podcast
Yeah.
about movies from the year 2000.
Thank you for saying it again.
Because
here we go.
Technologically, it might as well have been the 90s. But culturally, they thought they were in the year 3000. So I'm going to...
Hey, the Jonas Brothers were right.
Sure.
We have been to the year 3000. And this song has gone multi-platinum.
Did it?
No, that was just what they said.
And I know, but I don't know if this... Anyway.
So are there songs about the year... I guess I was going to say, are there songs about the year 3000 that will go platinum in the year 3000? But technically that is the one.
I hope it does.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
There you go.
Joe Bros, they got it.
So this is about Meet the Parents today.
Yeah. Forget the Jonas Brothers for now. We'll get back to it.
We'll get back to it.
We're talking about the famed movie Meet the Parents.
Starts off on a weird note.
You've probably seen it on ABC Family or now Freeform.
Is that what it's called now?
Yeah, I was at Comic-Con the year they were giving out all the promotional materials because they were switching names for no reason.
That sucks.
Freeform. I got some Freeform putty.
Oh.
Slime, I guess it was.
Oh.
Freeform slime.
It goes everywhere.
Yeah,
sure.
wacky. But yeah, it starts out on a lot of weird notes. The whole movie is just weird note to weird note.
Sure. But specifically what caught my attention is a lot of Randy Newman in the intro.
I forgot up until this viewing that he did the theme.
Yeah, and then they say music by Randy Newman, and then they say the name of the song by Randy Newman.
He holds a lot of power, you know.
But then I don't think there's another Randy Newman song in the entire movie.
Well.
And then hard cut to the hospital. Immediate tonal shift. And to reveal our protagonist,
that
Greg
is a
Focker.
word.
And I have a note here that says, Ben Stiller plays Greg Focker, a.k.a. the most boring man in the world, whose personality traits include being a male nurse, lying, and fitting in everyone's clothes.
I hate it because it's true.
Which one of those points do you want to touch on first?
Well, I guess we start on being a male nurse, so let's go from there.
I'd say the most obviously dated part of this movie is the insistence on a male nurse being like a recurring punchline.
Yeah. They really treat it like it's some goofy, ridiculous thing.
Like 3 times they say like, you gonna be a doctor? You gonna move up it? Like as if someone would not have another reason for being a nurse other than stepping stone to doctor.
It's like in a movie from the 50s when a woman gets a job and they're just like, oh, she's just doing that till she finds a man. Like, that's the tone of it.
He's just doing it until he can be a doctor. Clearly, he wouldn't want to be a nurse.
God. What?
And definitely, they make a point of saying, not a lot of men in your field, huh?
Traditionally, no.
Yeah. So it's a lot of weird misogynistic tone.
Yeah,
and
that's definitely true. It's definitely like a male voice movie. I don't think it would pass the Bechdel test.
Shit, I should have been paying attention to that. Maybe in future episodes.
I just like, based on just what I know about the movie, I can't imagine it passed.
Yeah. So male nurse is one of his defining personality traits.
Yes.
Being a lying man.
Yes.
Smoking cigarettes.
He does smoke cigarettes.
And being average sized, I suppose. Give me another personality trait of Greg Focker. Not relying on the sequels. Just in Meet the Parents, where he's introduced into the world. Give me a personality trait.
So I
of
don't
this
get
man.
to talk about Meet the. What's the third
Little
one?
Fockers.
I don't get to talk about Little Fockers, where he stabs Robert De Niro's erect penis with a needle.
No, listen, let me set the tone for you for this story, for this sidebar conversation. Hey, bring it over here for a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me talk to you over here for a second. Here's the scene. It's 2010. I'm right out of high school. I am quickly realizing that I am failing community college.
We've all been there.
I decide, I probably need some money, huh? I get a job at my local AMC multiplex theater. There aren't many perks to the job. One of the perks is free popcorn. The other perk is occasionally they'll let you see movies. Strong sort of focus on occasionally, because you'd think you should just be allowed to do that, right?
Yeah.
No, so we get an exclusive like team meeting where they say, we've got something special for you.
Oh no.
We're offering you guys an advanced screening of Little Fockers.
No.
And don't worry, popcorn's free. So I said, fuck it. I've got nothing else going on my Thursday afternoon. I will watch Little Fockers with all of my coworkers who I do not like. Free popcorn in hand. We get to that scene, and I say, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. And I saw it through.
Good.
But at a certain point, it was less an activity to quell the boredom and more an activity in survival, because it was a rough moment.
Well, as somebody who has watched this movie at length for another podcast I do, I can say it's a very bad movie, and I'm surprised that you got all the way to the penis stabbing scene, and that's where you were like, maybe I should leave.
I think that's the part that put it above and beyond.
I guess that makes sense.
But
especially when the kid sees it. You and that kid were technically in the same universal role. Seeing something they didn't want to see. Except you probably didn't cry like he did. Or maybe you did.
And I don't think he was hungover like I was all the time at 18
Oh,
years
Hollywood
old.
kids are always hungover.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, they're out partying all night with
Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro.
getting shit-faced at the go-go, you know.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. So anyway, sidebar over. Come on back.
Let's reel her back.
Yeah, no, come on back to the other side of the room here, metaphorically. Give me another personality trait of Greg Focker.
I mean, the one that really comes to mind is that he is just so desperate to please his girlfriend's parents.
Lying man.
Yes.
That included in my notes.
No, he's not in lying, but like, he like brings them a flower and like tries to buy them expensive champagne, which he can only find $13 mums, which is on sale. You can just buy a shitload of mums.
Yeah, that's a good one. No, but I don't think he's trying to impress him out of like the kindness of his own heart. He heard, as he was going to propose to his girlfriend in the beginning,
true,
in a spectacular fashion with small children that she teaches. It's not just like small children hanging out. She gets a phone call that her sister got engaged the same day, and Greg Focker, hearing that the sister's fiance, Dr. Bob, went through extreme lengths to gain the approval of their father, he now decides he has to at least be in the same ranks as Dr. Bob. This is not a man who was like, man, I just really care about tradition and getting the approval of my girlfriend's father. He's like, fuck Dr. Bob was his entire mindset.
You know,
this man sucks.
I think growing up, I just always saw all the characters in these movies as the good people, because that's like just the glaring thing you're supposed to pull from this movie. Like, he's a good guy trying to get his girlfriend's parents to like him. But now that I'm an adult and I'm watching them, I'm just like, oh no, some of these people aren't that good.
Yeah, these people suck.
Ooh.
And if you look at the Wikipedia summary,
Oh,
it
no.
says it describes him as, I quote, kind-hearted. And I disagree fully. About 1,000% do I disagree. This man sucks. This
Spray
man
painted a cat.
He spray painted a cat. He couldn't just like stop smoking cigarettes for a couple of days. He couldn't just not have sex for a couple of days. There's so many things.
Ooh, you're really painting me into a corner here, aren't you?
Sorry, I'm coming out hot.
No, he's a bad guy. I'll say it. Greg Focker or Gaylord Focker.
Gaylord Focker.
He lies about his name the entire movie.
Including to
but
his
also
girlfriend, maybe.
I think his girlfriend knew.
Oh, okay.
Because everyone else is like, your name's Gaylord.
Gay Focker.
And then the one guy's just like, oh, it's just a funny name.
It's just not a common name. Yeah, that guy sucks too.
Oh yeah,
Is that Dr. Bob?
I think that was Dr. Bob.
Yeah, Dr. Bob sucks too.
I don't like Dr. Bob that much. I mean, later in the franchise, this is a franchise, by the way, he divorces out of the family.
Right.
In the third one, I believe.
What else do I have here? He fits into everyone's clothes. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, that is a thing.
It's a point. I understand the plot device of him losing his luggage.
Yes.
Very funny. Sets up some gags down the road. Good time all around. However, he gets there and says, "Oh, you can take my dad's clothes." Like, what if the dad was played by Danny DeVito? That wouldn't work at all.
That would have been a much better movie. Let's start there.
That would have been great. But then when he's like, man, I feel uncomfortable wearing your dad's underwear. Let me go wear your brother's underwear, who I've never met. I'm just assuming we're the same size. That's how men in this movie work.
I mean, really, if you look at any man in this movie, they pretty much are all the same size person.
And then when it's like Owen Wilson, oh, I'll get you some swimming trunks, assuming we're the same size, because of course we are.
I mean, everyone's a medium, right, in Hollywood?
I guess so.
Everyone's a medium.
Except for Tom Cruise, medium. He's small.
Oh, he's the smallest man in the world.
Oh.
Tom Cruise is 2 feet tall.
Yeah, and they didn't have the brother's clothes large because he was a bigger man. It was large because this is still kind of the 90s, and big clothes were a thing.
And he was a hip stoner boy. Little Kim, you know.
Lil' Kim also included was a Korn poster.
I was really drooling over his bedroom poster choice.
Quiet while recording, or like quiet on set.
Yes,
type of
I did. I like that.
Yeah, there was some good things. And then he had what was his little weed apparatus? It was like a jester with like a dangly bell on it.
I think so, something like that. It's a very ornate pipe. Something you would buy at a head shop, or so I've been told.
If you will. That kid sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Everyone in this movie sucks.
I mean, everyone's bad.
You want to keep talking about this, or you want to go to my very short segment that I have?
We can go to your short segment. I think we pretty much drilled how much he can fit in everyone's clothes. Oh, no.
My short segment is called It's the Future, Isn't It?
What?
So again, how I say culturally they all believe they were very far in the future. I now pay attention to, in these movies, what sort of futuristic lingo or things they put in. And Meet the Parents, not a huge futuristic movie, but right in the very beginning, she takes a call on her fancy little flip cell phone.
She does.
She does. And
Interesting.
they made it a point of it that it's like, oh, I'm on the cell phone here, and he's just looking up. New technology, whoa, fancy schmancy. That's not even the best of it, though. When Owen Wilson's Kevin comes into play,
yes,
you learn that he's like a day trader type, and he recently made a fortune. And they ask how, and he says, "Oh, all that new wireless IPO." that's insane nonsense talk. That means nothing. And then he says, "Greg, what industry are you in?" He says, "I'm in healthcare." And he says, "Oh, you know what I'm talking about? All that new biotech stuff."
It just sounds like they copy and pasted some Jurassic Park jargon.
Yeah.
Right in this movie?
Yeah, and they said, "We're in the future, right? That's it's the future, isn't it?"
Robert De Niro comes out dressed like the robot from Lost World.
I was gonna
Danger, Will Robinson.
That's so much better. I was going to say RoboCop. Did
you hear that? Did Did you hear that Elon Musk is making another RoboCop? Or so I've heard. He put a computer chip in a pig's brain. So
Oh.
ah,
Ah.
Baba booey, baba boo. I'm sorry.
That ain't a bad one. I'll give
Ah,
it to you. It ain't bad. You've had worse.
oh, I've had
And
worse
then
today.
and then at the end, towards the end, there's what I'm assuming is the fanciest fax machine I've ever seen.
True. That thing printed out crystal clear.
Crystal clear, very quickly, and it's like a big black box. It's very like sleek and modern. So it didn't have the phone number pad on it, the keypad. So I'm like, was this just a printer that they emailed over a handwritten note? Or is this a very fancy fax machine? Implying that, of course, it is the future and we have very fancy fax machines.
I enjoyed the point that was done for plot that in real life wouldn't happen, that she just happened to be right in the room. Like she was walking by when it printed and she's like, oh, and just grabs it.
Perfect. My plot device is here right on time. I know when this is happening. Yeah, so that's kind of my segment.
Well,
Yeah, something
there is
pique your
a
interest?
theory I have about this movie.
Love to hear it.
I think that it's basically Final Destination, but for love.
Oh, fuck.
Because if you look at this movie, literally anything that could go wrong goes wrong. It's like death tries to catch you if you evade it. Like
Right.
a relationship failing is always going to try to catch you even if you evade it. So my theory is that this relationship should have never happened. And Love Death is following Greg around. He started with that phone call and then like losing the luggage and yada yada yada.
So all that stuff was minor inconveniences. What really makes me believe that is when he's unhinged at a certain point to say, he's chasing the cat. He sees his cigarettes on the roof and he says, fuck it, I'm this far in. I'm going to have a smoke on the roof. And when he flicks the butt, it lights damn near the whole house on fire. And at that moment, I can believe.
And then like
that's Love Death.
It's very much Final Destination in that scene specifically, because like then he kicks the gutter and it like swings over, it knocks the power line off, and it swings down. A tree catches the blaze quicker than any live tree could ever catch on fire, and then it like catches the wedding altar.
Oh, and a funny thing, you can see in the wedding altar, there's like it's tiered a little bit so that there's like a little step up.
Yeah.
I don't know why this caught my eye, but I think they had explosives rigged in the underneath of it, because there's like a small perfectly cut out section that just kind of erupts a little bit.
I mean, I'm sure they did.
When it catches on fire, it goes like and like it blows out this false bottom. And yeah, in again the way that no even dead wood would catch on fire. I've lit a couple campfires in my day, and I'll tell you what, they don't explode.
I've committed some light arson. It's always slow.
Never explosions.
Well, sometimes. Hey, that Sunoco knew what they did.
Jesus Christ.
I got nipples, Greg. You want to milk me? Robert De Niro, famed actor, Oscar nominee and winner. You want to milk me, Greg?
Yeah, that I remember being an iconic moment when I was like gearing up to watch the movie. I'm like, I know this quote. I know that's the one. For the life of me, I can't remember what the context is. And then watching it, it's a ridiculous context.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Again, lying man Greg Focker, overhearing his soon-to-be father-in-law getting passports and such secretly for a surprise honeymoon that he's planning for his other daughter, and almost getting caught in the act. Greg Focker goes and grabs the nearest free magazine, which happens to be, I think it's called like Motherhood Monthly.
Something like that.
Yeah. And he flips to a random page, which happens to be about breast pumps. And when questioned, you know, like a normal person would do, what you reading there? He says, you know, pumps. He says, pumps? And he says, yes, I grew up on a farm. Like,
That confused me because he's a nurse. Like, he could have just been like, oh, it's nurse stuff.
Nurse stuff, easily.
Nurse stuff. 2 words, done. And honestly, it might not even be a whole lie.
Yeah, you could really get away with that. And such a flimsy lie of I grew up on a farm when your girlfriend is not in on the lie and
True.
knows you grew up in Detroit. So fast forward to this dinner scene, and they say, they bring up he grew up on a farm. She says, I thought you grew up in Detroit. He says, well, it's not a farm per se, the pets and stuff. And he says, I had to milk a pet, which is insane. Like, you can't.
I've had several pets in my life, and I have never once even thought about milking one.
I've lived in a house that has had enough pets in it. There were more pets than humans. Safe to say, if you're reveling in the lie of an urban Detroit pet farm, I'd say that this qualifies, where there's more pets than humans. And again, never had to milk a pet. So he tries to get in the good graces and spin it and say, nah, I got you. There was a runt of the litter of a kitten who could not reach the teat, as it were. And so hero Greg Focker milks the cat in order to save Geppetto, is what he says he named the runt, which is insane. He can pull out that reference out of nowhere and say, yes, I named this runt Geppetto. Look at me, hero Greg Focker. But he can't say nurse stuff to avoid the entire story that he's now decided. You looking up the accuracy of that?
No, there's something I want to bring up when he is asked to do grace.
Ooh, buddy, that's a
so
good one.
Earlier in the day, they were in, I believe, a CVS pharmacy getting just things for dinner, the evening, whatever.
Something along that line. They said it was something farm. They say the name of it when he brings up the champagne.
It was like a local one, yeah. Wasn't like some stop and go. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Sure. Not at all. He's in there, and the song "Day by Day" from the musical Godspell is playing, and I heard it, and it was like a very slow version, and I was like, that's weird. And then later, when he's doing grace as a Jewish man who's probably never said grace, right, he basically just says the lyrics to "Day by Day" from Godspell.
Oh, is that the joke?
Like, oh dear Lord, thank you for your service, day by day, by day by day. And I really heard it both times, and I was like, oh.
That's very funny.
That's
probably the most clever joke in the entire movie.
Oh, almost definitely.
Director and creator Jay Roach, famously of, at this point, Austin Powers and not much else.
I was going to bring up his Austin Powers notes. Yeah, Austin Powers and the first 2 Meet the Parents and Fockers movies. I don't believe he directed the 3rd one for some reason.
Yeah, he was a producer. I looked all this up on Wikipedia this morning.
Good.
Yeah, research, we'll call it.
Research in air quotes.
Sure, yeah.
If you haven't seen this movie, I guess we should just mention that they're going home. They're going to her home for her sister's wedding. She was proposed to like maybe a week before the wedding.
2 weeks prior.
2 weeks prior, yes. And I just find it so stressful, the idea of meeting your partner's parents and it's a wedding you're going to. Like, that just puts so much extra, like...
Yeah, and then something happened where he had to be an usher.
One person couldn't come. I forget what happened, but... So he, like, went from not knowing anyone to being intimately involved with the family, letting them down at every possible turn, and being involved directly in the wedding.
So this is a trope of a lot of movies, I feel. I gotta meet the parents. I gotta figure, meet them and get to know them and get the approval and what have you.
Yes.
I've dated a few people. I have
famously
almost always met their parents, maybe after a few weeks, if not a few months of officially dating. I've never gotten to the point where I'm like, I want to propose to this person and become engaged to marry them.
So you've never paid a dowry.
Right. But first, I have to know who raised them, because that's a point that I have, I guess, not thought about for the entire relationship. So, like, off the bat, the premise seems ridiculous to me.
True. You've never just looked your lover in the eyes and said, "What was your rearing like?
Yeah,
Where were you hatched?"
yeah. I mean, you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, favorite color. What do you do for work? A few steps later, what do your parents do? What do they like? Listen, I do graphic design sometimes professionally.
I know.
And that is only because my father does it professionally and he taught me. So, like, in my world, you can't really bring up one without the other. And then at some point, people inevitably say, your dad sounds cool. I got to meet him.
That's the trap.
There it is. So the idea that, like, neither of these people have met each other's parents is insane to me. And I get it. They live in Chicago. The parents live in New York. The other parents live in Detroit, I guess.
Although they also live on an island, apparently.
Yeah, they live on, like...
That's...
because they fly into LaGuardia. And I'm like, okay, you're going into the city for flying purposes. And then, yeah, fancy schmancy...
wait, who are we talking about?
The
De Niro's?
Yeah, the De Niro's.
I was talking about Greg's parents.
Oh,
because in
right.
the sequel, they live on, like, a tropical island. Which doesn't make sense now, because in this movie, they live in Detroit.
Or at least they're from Detroit.
That's true. But I think it is mentioned that, like, I called Greg's parents in Detroit.
Yeah.
That's weird. Plot point, Jay Roach.
Come on.
Let's at him right now.
You tied together all the Austin Powerses.
You got Beyonce in there, but you couldn't handle this simple plot point.
Tropical Island, Detroit.
It could be. I've never been.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to Motown either. She also makes she has a great burn on him, which is he milked a lot of pets in your time in Motown.
I do love every time every time anyone digs him, especially Robert De Niro, like for the weed stuff, he just always has a new reference to call him.
Right.
It's like, probably know a lot about that, don't you, Cheech? Just so many.
I do like that scene where they're where he gets confronted about the marijuana, and it seems like the entire wedding party is in the fanciest hats I've ever seen.
Oh yes.
Why?
It's that kind of wedding. It's a Long Island wedding. You don't go into one of those without your tailcoats and your good top hat.
But why the top hat? That's insane. That feels even like for 90s standards, the top hat wedding felt just it felt like it felt like they set that up so that later when the cat destroys everything, he can do that funny sort of like and like pop out the hat to reveal some damage on the hat even. I feel like that's the only reason they put that in there. So
that definitely was a lost joke that would have made this movie better.
What's that?
The top hat. Or does he do that?
He does.
Oh, I must have missed that.
When the cat destroys everything as he's going through the wreckage, he pops out the top hat, which has been flattened, to reveal that there are some scratch marks or
then that was
bite marks.
The only reason for that joke. For that top hat to
or
exist.
Other than the absurdity of look at this man in this fancy hat and we're never going to address it.
A top hat wedding sounds like one of those slang terms for like when a gay guy marries a straight girl or something. They're having a top hat wedding in Long Island. He might be married, but he'll always be an eligible bachelor to me.
Jesus Christ.
He's a real lamplighter.
Yeah, you got more? Keep them coming.
Gentleman with a limp handshake. That's all I got off the top of my head.
Okay.
I have a list on my phone, but
Sure.
I'm not going to get it out.
Your phone is on next to
My
you.
phone is on. Would you? No, it is on for a different reason. I watched a movie that wasn't this movie last night, and I just want to mention one little plot point.
Sure.
It was called Critical Condition.
Okay.
It starred that guy.
Oh, great. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Richard
insight.
Pryor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his name. And so all this stuff happens. He's working in a hospital. He's not really a doctor. Goofy. And he's dealing with all the drug addicts. And the one guy is like a Vietnam vet, and he's talking about working on helicopters, and he's like, yeah, when I was on my little Asian vacation, which is what he called going to Vietnam, which I
Oh.
thought was hilarious.
Oh. Huh.
That was it. I've never heard Vietnam referred to as my little Asian vacation.
Sure.
Good for him.
So
Pertains to nothing.
well, Asian vacation. He's
planning. Look at that.
He's planning a honeymoon to an island off the coast of Thailand.
Yeah,
which feels very specific,
and maybe he's planning some weird sex stuff for him.
Maybe
make sure you go to the right neighborhood.
It asks more questions than it answers.
True.
But there's also what felt like it was supposed to be a bit, but didn't quite land with me. Where he says, I heard him speaking Thai, and then the wife goes, Jack doesn't talk Thai. And there's the alliteration, okay. And then he says, Greg says, I think it's like he do talk Thai, he talk Thai good. And I was like, is this like, he doesn't say it with an accent, so it's not explicitly racist, but I was like, I don't get this, but it doesn't feel good.
In my mind, here we go. In my mind, he's just playing off of the fact that she said talk Thai.
But why did she say it?
It's weird.
It feels like a bit, but I don't get it.
What if we found out this whole movie was improvised?
That would make way more sense.
Everything would be better. Really.
That would make a lot of sense. Unfortunately, I can't say that it was entirely improvised because this brings me to another point that I need to talk about, which is that this is a remake of sorts of a 1992 movie. So a movie from just 8 years previous called Meet the Parents.
Really?
And upon learning that, I did not watch this movie, but I looked it up, and it is absurd. It is more absurd than this movie.
Meet the Parents,
1992.
1992.
It is about a man also named Greg. So this movie...
Oh dear, even the cover art is insane.
It looks like a movie from the 60s.
Into each life from... Wait, here we go.
Yeah, you got it.
Ooh. Into each life, some rain must fall. Greg better build an ark.
Like, what does that mean? That's insane.
Produced in association with Emo Phillips, famous stand-up comedian and friend of Weird Al Yankovic.
So, this movie, the 1992 version, from the synopsis I've read, starts off with a man at a gas station, an unnamed man at a gas station, talking to the attendant, saying, I want to propose to my girlfriend. I got to meet her parents, which makes this gas attendant say, you don't want to do that. I've got a story about a man named Greg.
So I kind of like that setup, though.
So the whole movie exists as a story from a wayward gas attendant. And essentially, it's a not too dissimilar premise. You know, he's got to get the approval. There's a sister who's there. But some of the gags are just like really out there, including accidentally stabbing the mother-in-law in the eye.
Oh dear.
And so there's apparently a recurring joke that the sister wants to be a singer.
Yeah.
She wants to be a professional singer, and apparently she sings poorly in this 1992 version. That's her whole thing, is that she wants to be a singer and she sings very poorly. That's the funny joke. Haha. So for some reason that, you know, I didn't watch the movie, so I don't know the nuance of it, or if there was any. Something tells me this is a movie greatly lacking in nuance. But for some reason, she believes that Greg is connected to some big record producer or something. And so she insists that Greg hears her sing. And she does, and it's not great. And he tries to not make a fuss. He tries to be very neutral about the situation. You know, he's already stabbed this girl's mom in the eye, amongst other heinous acts. but I believe he makes like a small criticism, which leads her to hang herself.
Oh no!
Leaving a lipstick note that says "Greg killed me."
Oh no! I need to see this movie. I'll tell you that much.
And that's where the story ends. There's no redemption arc of I get the girl back. It just flashes back to the gas station and ends with, and that's why you shouldn't propose to your girlfriend and meet her parents.
And Randy Newman did the music for that movie as well.
Probably.
Oh man.
And then apparently the ending of the movie is this man leaves the gas station shaken, and another man comes up to the gas attendant and says something about the circus, which leads him onto another story. He's like, well, I got a story for you. Close scene. I guess they intended to make this a wayward gas attendant story anthology series.
I got, first of all, I really love the framing device of the gas attendant telling the whole story. Second of all, I would have loved if it ended with him just saying, well, I've got a story about a man named Greg. And it's just all made up bullshit about the same guy. Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that was the thing. That sounds fantastic.
And after learning about that, I thought it would be very interesting if the sister randomly hanged herself in the 2000 movie and said, Greg did this to me. And then you could do the big reveal at the end of the teddy bear cam to find out that it wasn't actually Greg that killed her, but I don't know.
Dr. Bob, I guess.
Yeah, maybe, but the teddy bear cam, another future thing. Why do they have this recording device situation?
Because Robert De Niro doesn't trust anyone.
He was in the CIA.
Especially babysitters, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, early on he says, can you trust anyone? And Greg says, yeah, I think so. And he goes, no, you can't.
As much as Greg is the villain of this, I think Robert De Niro definitely has a few moments where he is just like a bad person.
Yeah,
I mean, not bad, but like
plenty of issues.
Framed by his 30 years of CIA work.
He is an older man who is perhaps too protective of his family, specifically his firstborn daughter.
True.
A classic sort of male father issue that
yes, the female fathers don't have nearly as much trouble.
Maybe, I don't know.
I was just making fun of you saying male father.
Well,
but
to frame it as a masculine issue.
I understand.
It's still not solved in 2020. So, maybe there is a little bit of resonating outside of time themes. But I think he's an older man, protective, struggling with the idea of I've got to let my one daughter go. And now this other daughter is bringing home this asshole man, this lying bastard man. And I think that his expectations for Greg, in my mind, were not that abnormal, although I guess we could have seen how abnormal the expectations would have been had Greg not been a lying bastard man.
True.
Because in my mind, it seems like he's got some fucked up reasons or ways of accomplishing what he wants, CIA interrogation techniques, which were not even that crazy. He hooked him up to a polygraph. As far as CIA operations go, being the year 2000, he went through the 80s. He worked through the 80s in that world. So he waterboarded people.
Oh, for sure.
You know this. Like it's got to be real that De Niro's character has waterboarded people. So yeah, it feels like, hey, what do you do? Be honest with me. You a decent dude? Sure. But instead, Greg goes through absurd lengths to try and be friendly with these people and be cool with them. And it starts with trying to hug and kiss the mom. It's read the room, buddy.
That was a little. I never really noticed in past watchings how there was a weird, uncomfortable half second when that occurred.
Yes.
Never was like, oh.
Yeah. And this leads me to a point that I've wanted to talk about now for the entire recording, which is
Please do.
we've both been in this situation before.
We both kissed a mom.
Well, probably. Weirdly or not, I assume our own mothers at some point.
I was trying to think if I've kissed anyone that's had children. I don't think I have.
You've never like cheek kissed like
I mean,
an aunt or something?
No, I've done that.
You know?
I was just thinking like real kiss, like a man kiss, like when you hold two lizards and mash their faces together. That kind of kiss.
Well, he doesn't do that in the movie, so
yeah, he gives her tongue. You don't remember?
Fuck.
Listen.
Yeah, I guess I was falling asleep during that. Yeah, you want to get a little closer and do that?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I made my point.
I'd love to hear an experience of yours of being the significant other meeting the parents.
Oh man.
Or anything in the situation, because I've got some pretty deep parallels myself, but
I've never had ones that were this dramatic. I've definitely like dated people who have not had both their parents. Like the one parent they did have was very difficult, just in general.
Sure.
I've definitely like met someone's parents and then we broke up like very soon after.
Oh, no.
And one of the things they brought up was like, why'd you want to meet my mom if we were going to break up? And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
I didn't know we were going to break up then, but I did now.
Yeah.
I'm a simple man. I work on a day-to-day schedule.
Pretty much. You can't expect me to have a week in advance ready. Ooh, there was one specific instance, I guess. Let's
get into it.
I guess it would be like my first serious girlfriend. We dated for like 2-ish years, I think. I was in high school still. She had graduated and was going to college.
Ooh, scandalous.
And so like I would spend time at her house and I knew her family. And like she had, I don't want to say a tragic life, but like I don't think she liked her home life that much. Her dad was like a very stern like man who like did like man things. You know me, so obviously we clashed some.
Right.
And her mom worked at like a Giant and just drank a lot when she got home. She was like a wine mom. And their house just
so you had more in common with the mother.
Pretty much, yeah. But even still, her mom like was very mean, and her parents were just mean, and they scared me a lot. And it gave me like a very big like Dolly Parton Christmas special vibe anytime I was at their house because it was always just a little sad.
Oh, was there anything more to like a specific situation that happened? But
one time I accidentally broke her windshield.
Ooh.
Because she was how do I put this? She was popping zits on my face. And in her car, I was in the passenger seat because she enjoyed doing that. We had a very healthy relationship.
Sure.
And my feet were on the windshield and I pressed too hard and it cracked. And then I had to go in and tell her dad that I cracked her windshield.
Ooh, what did he say?
I remember I was super nervous about going in and then I went and he was like, well, get it fixed. And then he left. Right. And it was very anticlimactic.
Fair.
I wish I had a better story, but like there's nothing I can dig up. I'm sure by next week I'll have dug something up.
For this episode? Yeah.
Yeah, for next episode. I'll work on a week delay for every question you ask me. But what about you? When did you meet the parents?
Okay. So there's a part of this movie that, obviously it's meet the parents, but it's also meet the ex-boyfriend.
True.
And the ex-boyfriend is loved and the nicest man in the world and successful and just a guy you want to hate.
Yeah.
So I was dating a girl. Dad was not really in the picture, so very like protective, intense mom.
Yeah.
And so everything was like, you got to make sure you're in her good graces. And I'm like, I'm not that type of guy. I'm like, she was a very like, I need a man who's going to protect my daughter. and I'm not a protective type. I'm not a big, strong man. This is an audio format, but if you could see me, I don't scream protector right now. I scream man who has not showered.
Oh, and you're wearing a robe too, which really adds to it.
Yeah, it's really great. So that was like difficult. Nothing too crazy. It definitely resonated. Like the questions I've received, especially from her mom, were like in the same way as like Greg knew he was fighting a losing battle from the start, so he tried really hard. I did not try that hard, but it was like, oh, so what do you do for work? Like, well, sometimes I'm a bouncer at a bar. Sometimes I record rappers in my home and get paid for it. Like, there weren't many things that I could say that I do professionally that sounded good. The only things I could say were like the freelance graphic design, but those weren't frequent enough for me to be honest in saying that, especially at that time. Um, and I think for a period of time I was unemployed when we were together, and it's like, well, mom didn't like that. But it's like, what are you going to school for? Well, music business and tech. Okay, well, what do you plan to do with that? I want to run a studio for like rappers and pop singers. It's just like her mom worked in like military defense.
Ah.
This was not a woman who was interested in any of my artsy fartsy nonsense.
She was not very Hollywood, as you would say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yike.
And then enter the ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend was someone that she had grown up with. They were like best friends, and then they dated, and it's like the mom loved him because she watched this guy grow up, and they were like, oh, he was always across the street. He was such a kind boy. And then he went into the Marines, and he's like a big strong dude and like very macho and very like, I drink beer and smoke cigars, but I'll also like walk old ladies across the street, and
All at the same time.
I murdered people halfway across the world, and people find that honorable.
Oh dear.
So when he comes into the picture, girlfriend at the time, she runs and gives him one of those like monkey hugs, like the grasping on fully, and I'm like, I don't love that. And then of course he's just like nicest guy in the world, like handshake that like eclipses my entire hand. And like, what are you supposed to say to that?
That's a tough one.
You don't say anything.
I mean, that's a movie setup right there. Like,
exactly.
That doesn't happen in real life, except that one time to you.
Yeah, and then weeks later you get into an argument about it because you're like, I don't like this guy, and she says why, and you're like, because I'm insecure. That's the whole crux of it. But you get upset about it, and so the scene where they're meeting Owen Wilson's Kevin. Which I'm never gonna just call him Kevin. It's gonna be Owen Wilson's Kevin. That just like, that was the only like redeeming moment for Greg as a character for me, because I was like, oof, been there big time. When he's just like, they're like, oh, what do you do, Kevin? He's like, oh, everything great in the world. And I salvaged this. What'd they say? He said, I salvaged this woods from a seaman's chapel.
In Nantucket.
Yeah, in Nantucket. And then he's got the Viking hood on the stove, and he's like, I have a pool and a barbecue. What did he say? He says something like barbecue's hot and the pool is Luke. I hate this guy. Oh, I hate everything about this guy. And the whole family loves him, and he's the sister's fiance. He's his best man, and man, it brought me back to that specific relationship, and I was like, here I am meek in skinny jeans, which is, they don't understand at all. Like, why can't you wear loose jeans like a man? And this is before I started going to the gym, so my arms were tinier even then. Yeah, it wasn't great. And then another story I have is about the first time I met a significant other's parents. It's weird to call her a significant other because we were in like 8th grade. We dated for like 2 years, 8th and 9th grade.
Whoa.
It was super intense. It was the most serious thing in the world. I cried for like 3 days when we broke up. And then 3 months later realized, why did I cry that much? I am a child. Anyway, so we, her dad, there's a through line here that's going to become very obvious that I'm sort of realizing right now in my life in real time that you're going to now realize immediately. Her father was an ex-Marine.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Apparently, I am attracted to and attract girls who have significant male role models in their life that were military. I don't know why I am involved in that, but it happens. And her parents were like pure Italian,
Ah.
straight off the boat Italian, but like also like a Marine and I Love America type.
Hmm.
So they were like asking me about like what my heritage was.
Oh,
And I was
yes.
like Irish, German, and Polish. They're like, no Italian. I'm like, nope. And they're like, And as a child, you're like, what do I say to this? Like, there's that's
At least you didn't pull a Greg and just lie.
and say,
Although you could have.
and say, yeah, I'm 100%
100, but just got off the boat last week. Gabagool.
Sicily, gabagool. Yeah, and so the only, I think the idea of this movie was this relatable feeling of like, I know my girlfriend's parents aren't going to like me, but I still have to try.
You know, now that I think about it, I did once date a girl who was Greek, like my big fat Greek wedding Greek, and her parents were my big fat Greek wedding Greek. And if you've seen that movie, you understand where I'm going with this. And I faced very similar adversity. But it was weird because, like,
walking into it, you know, I'm fucked.
And like we met on Tinder too, so like there was a whole other level where we were lying about how we met and stuff, we met and stuff like that. And her brother was like a big like country truck driving hick dude, which always confused me because like her whole family was like Greek.
Yeah,
and she was like,
but I bet they were proud of him.
Probably. They didn't really talk about him. He was just kind of there. Very much like an ogre, that one.
Okay.
Also, when you were talking about work you were doing, I realized that I mostly get along with moms.
Yeah,
you
me
could
too.
Probably guess. I mean, you know, we got big mom energy.
Yeah.
We have fun mom energy. And like every job I've really had, I don't think screams like good boyfriend. I mean, I think I want to
go through the list.
Have been a good boyfriend. Just recently, I mean, bartender,
bar,
soda jerk, cranologist.
What?
I worked at... Don't worry about it.
Okay.
No, I worked at the Crayola Experience in Easton, Pennsylvania.
Ooh, fun.
As an entertainer. I did shows with all of the old factory equipment. I would make...
You did jazz hands when you said the word shows.
I made hundreds of thousands of crayons in my time there. And yeah, I guess that one would fall under a good boyfriend, but still.
I don't think so.
Probably
I don't think the fathers we're talking about would appreciate the Crayola jester.
Yeah. Oh, that was a weird time in my life.
Like I mean, I've now learned through experience how to deal with fathers like that. You know, you sip on some whiskey, you smoke a cigar, you talk about Zeppelin or something, and they're easy.
Dads love Zeppelins.
Yeah. Classic blimp enthusiast. Every father of every girl I've dated.
Hey, man.
All blimp enthusiast.
If you have that one thing going for you.
I've learned about football. I think I mean I enjoy the sports game, but I think I initially got into it because I was like, I need to tap into this masculine energy. It's going to help me down the line at some point.
I feel like I'm pretty good at faking my way through masculinity.
You just need to know how to do it, especially when you're meeting.
It's like drag. It's like improv plus drag, and all you're doing is pretending to be more of a man.
But then when I hang out with moms, I'm like, I fucking got this.
Oh yeah,
in the bag.
Not even a fucking nothing but net. Free throws for days. Forget about it.
You want to drink wine? No, wine coolers. You want to go on the beach and have a weird see-through visor? I'm here for it, lady.
A lot of Cheetos.
Don't worry about it. I packed the sandwiches. You're goddamn right I stopped at Wawa. These are the best. They're not the best, but the moms of girls I dated often think that the best beach snack is Wawa sandwiches.
So, any other trauma you want to get into?
No, this is about movies, right?
Yeah, movies. We don't. We don't have trauma. We watch movies.
I was thinking the word test drive. Oh, I'm going to put this together for you. I said test run. My brain went test drive. And then my brain went that weird racing scene.
Yeah. Also, I did love the subtext of like, oh, he let me drive. The doctor let me drive, and we cut to the doctor like waving from the window. Clearly, he's not that drunk, but the idea is that they think he's hammered, and I thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
Like I've been in that situation myself, of being the sober driver, and like people look at the passenger and they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, him, yeah.
The lush.
That was the moment. Up until then, I was like, the Robert De Niro, Jack is I think his name.
Yes.
Awful names, first of all. Dr. Bob is the best name in this because it's so easy to remember.
By and large.
Yeah. It's like, what is it? The daughter's name is Pam.
Yes.
And there's Greg, and then there's Jack, and then there's Kevin. I don't remember the wife's name.
These are just the whitest names.
And they're so generic too. It's like so easily forgettable. But up until that point, I thought, Jack is an aggressive, intense man. He needs to work out these things. But at the same time, in his world and his mind, not entirely untrue, Greg's been lying a lot. And I'm just trying to figure this guy out and make sure he can marry my daughter. I'm trying to figure him out, and he just won't tell me the truth. And I keep telling him I brought him into my circle of trust. I let him know I value honesty above all things. And this man will just not tell me the truth. That's the vibe I got the whole time. Except for at that point, when they're having like a speed racer moment, I was like, oh man, like this guy, okay, he has it out for Greg. He's now officially the villain. But that's at like the very end of the movie, right before his redemption arc. Also, a weird part about that, how did Greg know that the real cat was around? So what happens right before that, the inciting incident of the race is that Greg is on the phone calling around shelters and stuff. Find me the real Mr. Jinx. I've got the imposter cat in there. I spray painted the tail. This ain't gonna last. I need to get home and swap out the cat. But what happened was on the phone next to him, Jack is receiving a call that says, the real cat has been found. It is next door. But Jack doesn't say, thank you for finding my cat. I will be right over. He says, oh, perfect. Great. I'll come right over.
I mean, the only thing I can assume is that, like, since Robert De Niro was in such a rush to get out of there, Ben Stiller was like, oh, something's going down. I better at least get rid of the cat before it gets home.
Just yeet the cat away.
Pretty much. Throw that bitch out a window.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. But then they have their weird red light race.
True. Sometimes movies don't make sense.
Case in point, this entire movie. Because at the end, he's like, are you a pothead? No. Have you smoked pot? Yes. Okay. Sure. Where earlier he was like so adamant about like, I've got to win this guy over. I've got to let him know I've never touched the marijuana. What did he say? He says, I've said no to grass or something like that.
I think he's like, I always say no to grass.
Yeah.
And then Greg, the other Jack, is like, always? And he's like,
well, not always.
But no, yeah, always.
Which clues you in, he's... If you were really a prude like that and never smoked pot, you would probably still call it marijuana. You wouldn't be like, oh, the grass, like it's a hip kid thing. Yeah, this man sucks. I don't like him.
Greg really had it, like, he has a job in the medical profession. He really this could have been so easy if he just didn't lie the entire time.
The entire time.
And also, if he would have just carried on that bag.
Yeah, but
I know they wouldn't let him, but like,
So here's my solution to this entire movie. You're in an airport, yes.
Yes.
Before airport security, not often, but most times, there's usually a place to buy a bag.
Yeah.
Why don't you get a couple of get a little book bag, get a purse even. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
It's
get
2000.
Something.
Yeah. And put like the ring and maybe a couple of things to get that bag size down into your purse or your messenger bag or your book bag. I won't pretend to know his choice of bags. And then check the other one, and then put your bag through. Easy peasy.
And usually, at least in my experience traveling, if you get a carry-on, you also get a personal item, which can be a backpack.
Yeah.
So it could have even worked out great that he could have gotten both through.
Yeah, because then you take down the amount of stuff in the one bag, therefore it now fits through as a carry-on.
True.
And you've got your book bag that can go nicely under the seat. Problem solved, movie averted.
This whole movie was really just a big smear campaign for Samsonite.
Yeah.
I did love the line when he was on hold with the airport people, and he's like, did you ever consider that perhaps the company Samsonite would make more than one of the same bag in order to turn a profit?
A scheme to turn a profit, yeah.
In some evil scheme.
That was a good one. The immense dunking on American Airlines constantly.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
Imagine how different do you think this movie would have been if it came out a year later, in the year 2001?
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Yes. That was a point. Another point, and perhaps one of my last points of this was there is a huge moment in there where he's just saying bomb, 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 bomb.
Yes.
Bomb, bomb, bomb.
He verbally assaults a flight attendant and then says the word bomb about 12
and says,
times.
It's not like I have a bomb or something. And he's like, you got to take it from my kung fu grip.
Yes. Say that.
And I looked it up. This movie came out in October of 2000. So this is less than a year later.
Whew.
And then he's like, you can't say bomb on a plane. He's like, why not? Why can't I say it? Bomb, 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 bomb.
And I love that the air marshal that has him in the room, literally all he says is, you can't say bomb on a plane.
Say bomb.
And then I think he says it again, and then he walks out.
Because you can't say it. And it's like, if only they knew.
If only. So did Ben Stiller do 9/11?
Greg did 9/11.
Oh, Greg.
But Greg from the 92 version.
Oh, yeah, that Greg.
That Greg is unhinged. So what's your let's bring it home here.
Bring it home.
What's your final sort of idea or thought in the frame of how does this movie hold up 20 years later?
I think the entire movie is a very cleverly disguised dick joke, but cleverly enough that it could pass in an American home. Parents love this movie. But also, if you're a little bit of a high teenager, you get all the haha, pee pee poo poo jokes. And I think it plays that very well to the fact that even if it's not a good movie, in my opinion, it will keep being a movie that people watch. I feel like it can play to both sides.
Yeah, I guess it's got that J Roach
that J Roach charm.
That charm. Well, of definitely a lot of problematic moments, especially as it gets older.
Isn't it odd that as this and the Austin Powers movies age, the Austin Powers movies are aging better? Or at least are less problematic as they get older, I'd say.
I think inherently those movies are wittier and funnier than this, but
it's true. It also had Michael Myers as a writer.
Yeah, and every character.
What happened to the old days when one actor played every character?
There were a good few movies like that. Now there's just American Pickle. Seth Rogen plays two people.
He plays himself, but older and more Jewish somehow.
Yeah, so it's got that J Roach flavor that is it's obviously there are jokes that are of the time that were supposedly very funny, but now on a rewatch in a 2020 lens is oh, these ain't great. But somehow, yeah, there's this bro comedy aspect that I think will always there will always be some jokes in there that tickle the funny bone, as it were. Well, that's a podcast.
That's a podcast. You can fit so much podcast in that bad boy.
I'm gonna keep calling myself this. I'm your handsome host, Tyler.
And I'm your cute little host, Nick.
And I hope this was funny enough to keep it going.
No, we'll see.
Bye.
Bye. Wow.